Hey everyone, Dr. Lavelle here again today. Just going to talk to you about continuation with what we were going over before with stomach acid, and we were talking about what it does. So stomach acid secretions are going to break down those collagen fibers like we mentioned, but also it's going to stimulate mucus production of your lining of your stomach wall. So your lining of your stomach wall gets thicker in response to the more acid you have in the stomach, and then it thins out the less acid you have. That's why if somebody's on a proton pump inhibitor, like medications would be like omeprazole, probably your most common one, Prilosec, those types of things. And what it does is it's going to help to narrow down the acid production. And then when that happens, your mucus lining, your stomach gets thinner. That's why you never want to quit these medications just cold turkey. You always want to talk to your doctor. You have to wean yourself off very slowly. Never just go cold turkey with those medications, even if you want to try to get your digestion working better. The other thing you want to do is we're going to try to analyze whether you have too little acid in your stomach or too much. Now, what's interesting is most cases of acid indigestion and reflux are going to be due to a couple things. Number one, it's going to be actually hypochlorhydria, or too little acid in there. That's been well established in the literature, that a lot of people have too little acid. These medications work because they neutralize the acid, as we talked about before. The other thing that we're going to see that has a big impact on whether it's going to be a digestive issue is would be like a hiatal hernia. So that's where your sphincter, your esophageal sphincter, the one that closes your stomach, what happens is that's at the top of the stomach. That will herniate above your diaphragm. Normally the stomach is below your diaphragm. Now your diaphragm is your strongest muscle in your body, stronger than your leg muscles and everything. And that will herniate above. And then it's like, if you imagine a Ziploc, you're trying to zip it shut and somebody's pushing on the ends. How is that going to work? You know, it's not going to work very well. So you're not able to close that valve. And then when you lay down or you bend over, acid will come up. And that's a more serious condition. Sometimes you need surgery with that. We can do a manual release of it. It will help you temporarily, but that's one of the things that we try to discern is, do you have too much acid or too little acid? We have protocols for each thing, but it just depends on what's going on. If we have too little acid, we actually want to increase acid production while paying attention to the stomach lining. If that mucous membrane is thinner, we want to use different herbs, what's called demulcent herbs. So those are things that I use in my practice every day. Some good examples would be things like marshmallow root and licorice. We also can use goldenseal. These are all things that increase mucus production to help thicken up that membrane. And then we'll do things to increase acid production. You can use betaine hydrochloride. That's basically stomach acid. We use different products like Zypan. We talked about Digest Forte. We'd use a product called HiPep. That'll help to thicken up some of the membranes. It supports the mucus production. Very effective at that. And then we'll also use, like I said, goldenseal. And then we'll get that membrane thicker, and then we'll get the digestive acidity levels better through time. And then eventually we'll go over to using bitters like we talked about in other videos, and use those bitter herbs to stimulate all the digestive organs. So hopefully that helps your understanding about how digestion works. We'll talk more about the small intestine and how that is an impact. But that's your little bit of information on the stomach and its job in turning that acid level to kind of a higher notch so you absorb things. Oh, I also forgot to mention, there is 4 main minerals that get affected by acidity. Iron is a big one. A lot of people with anemia, we have to look at if they're on a proton pump inhibitor. That's going to prevent you from absorbing iron. The other thing is calcium. As we mentioned, calcium is a buffer. Zinc is another one, and copper. So if you don't have good acid levels, you're going to get impacted, and you can get anemia, which leads to a lot of other symptoms. So people tend to view all these conditions as separate, but there are a lot of times it's one thing causing an influence. And also I've seen bad stomach digestion having a big impact on things like IBS down in the lower GI. So we'll talk more about that as we move forward. Thanks for your time.